I wonder if Jasmine Crockett would have cried for Dakara Thompson like she did for Renee Good.
People get offended and try to say I'm too black, but the reality is that y'all never let the fact that I am black go. So I'm gonna be clear about one thing. I know my good black history, but this looks like modern day slave patrols. And they have been sanctioned by this Supreme Court.
What does that do?
Brace yourself, because this is upsetting. And before we go any further, there's something about this situation that needs to be said plainly. Footage shows Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett visibly emotional over Renee Good, a figure accused of interfering with ICE operations. The moment went viral, followed by a GoFundMe campaign that pulled in more than $1 million and a wave of intense media coverage. It was everywhere. What wasn't everywhere is just as important.
Dakara Thompson's mom actually made her goal in the GoFundMe to continue to pay for the funeral services like Renee Good's family did. Again, by no means am I saying that Renee Good should have went out the way she did. What I am saying is that media and politicians have the power to impact which victims' lives matter.
There is another victim whose story barely made a ripple. Dakara Thompson, only 19 years old, lost her life at the hands of an undocumented immigrant who, according to reports, should have been deported long before. Her death was brutal and final, and yet her name was met with near silence. No emotional speeches, no trending hashtags, no celebrity statements or public displays of grief. So the question becomes unavoidable. Where was Jasmine Crockett then? Where was the media outrage? Where were the Hollywood figures so quick to speak out in other cases? This moment exposes what many see as one of the ugliest double standards in modern American politics: the selective attention, the selective empathy, and the selective outrage. It paints a troubling picture of how victims are chosen based on usefulness rather than justice. This is the reality many Americans feel they're confronting: a system where some lives become symbols while others are quietly ignored. Let me be clear.
Am I saying that Renee Good should have went out the way she did? What I am saying is that media and politicians have the power to impact which victims' lives matter and which victims' lives don't matter. If you haven't heard, Dakara Thompson was SA'd. She was murdered. She was tossed over a bridge by an undocumented who shouldn't have been in this country. But see, this happened in August of 2025. It is now January of 2026. Why didn't we hear about it before? And we obviously know the answer. We know that the media is controlled by the left, and the left couldn't possibly afford to have a black woman's face on their screens saying that an illegal them, because that would completely destroy whatever agenda they have going on.
In August 2025, Dara Thompson was murdered. Just 5 months before, Weir's mother's GoFundMe didn't even reach $40,000, while Renee Good's family raised $1.5 million. Are you really processing that? A person who shouldn't have been in the country took this young woman's life by throwing her off a bridge. And yet, the story barely registered in the media. Why? Because it doesn't fit the narrative.
Like Mr. Hernandez Mendez, who unalived Miss Dakar. You people out there demonstrating, your moral compass is all up. And normally I don't use profanity, but it's necessary here. You guys are twisted, demented. Why weren't you demonstrating for Miss Thompson? Where were you then? Where were the GoFundMes for her? You guys need to get a grip. You're on the wrong side of history, a term you left-wingers love to use. You're on the wrong side of history. I have a daughter who's a little bit older than Miss Thompson. And God forbid anything happened to her. Because I guarantee you, that person probably would not end up seeing justice via the justice
of open borders. Because it contradicts what they want you to believe. You won't see coverage of a black woman speaking about an illegal immigrant taking her daughter's life. Meanwhile, at the Golden Globes, Mark Ruffalo voiced concern, ironically, at an event guarded by fences, armed security, and sniffing dogs. The hypocrisy is striking. Ordinary Americans like Dara Thompson get no protection, no justice.
But what grieves me is that Carmen Thompson, Dakara Thompson's mom, set up a GoFundMe for $40,000 as the goal, and she was shy about $5,000. Meanwhile, Renee Good gets the media coverage despite obstructing justice, despite standing in the way of ICE agents, protecting victims from predators. She gets the media coverage because her storyline aligns with what the media is trying to push, and they get to raise about $1.5 million.
For Renee Nicole Good, who is murdered. This is for her. This is for the people in the United States who are terrorized and scared today. I know I'm one of them. I love this country, and what I'm seeing here happening is not America.
This is Mark Ruffalo. This is Mark Ruffalo's brain. This is the security detail at the Golden Globes, where they had armed sniffing dogs, a border wall, and street blockades, all to keep unwanted people and threats outside of these celebrities' swanky party. You know who didn't have armed security and a wall to protect her? 19-year-old Dakara Thompson.
And no attention. But Hollywood elites safeguard themselves with the very things they claim the public doesn't need. No justice, no media coverage, no safety, nothing. Think about that. Share this video. Show the world what the media refuses to show. In August 2025, 19-year-old Dakara Thompson was found dead in Maryland after being reported missing. Her body was discovered off Route 50 in Anne Arundel County nearly a week after her family lost contact with her.
Justice will come another way. I promise you that. May this beautiful young lady, please, rest in peace. And I hope her parents and all her loved ones, I pray for their comfort.
Why is the Democrat Party so radio silent of Dakara Thompson? Did I stutter? Oh, excuse me. Let me say it again louder for those who are in the peanut gallery in the back. Why haven't more black folks in the mainstream Jezebel, whore, Sodom and Gomorrah media, why haven't y'all said anything about Dakara Thompson?
Sir, police say Thompson's last known movements were captured on surveillance video showing her getting into a vehicle with 35-year-old Hugo Hernandez Mendez, who has since been charged with first and second-degree murder in her death. Officials have stated Hernandez Mendez was living in the United States without legal status and that federal authorities previously released him after an arrest for DUI earlier in 2025. While the details of how Thompson and Hernandez Mendez knew each other, if at all, are still part of the ongoing investigation, yet the case has prompted questions about how immigration enforcement and local law enforcement interact.
Who this lady is? It's a beautiful 19-year-old young lady who was murdered in August of 2025. Her name is Dakara Thompson. Say her name. She was abducted, then thrown over a bridge like a sack of garbage by an illegal alien by the name of Hugo Hernandez Mendez. He was in the country illegally, had been arrested for and released. The city that released him did not notify ICE where he could have been deported, and maybe Dakara's beautiful self would still be alive. Nobody raised $1.5 million on Dakara's behalf. Yet all this money has been raised for the young lady in Minnesota who was demonstrating, trying to prevent ICE from getting people.
This tragedy has also sparked conversations about which missing person cases receive widespread media coverage and which do not. Some journalists and advocates say that stories involving young black women historically receive less attention in mainstream outlets, and Thompson's death has renewed calls for broader reporting on such cases. It's important to remember Dakara Thompson as a young woman with a life and family, a recent high school graduate, and someone engaged in community service, and to let the facts continue to come out as authorities investigate.